Welcome into the official. We got the whole crew here. We are continuing our look at the high school landscape from this past week. Who was popping on the field? We're going to get right into it. We have a lot of guys to talk about, but go check out the previous video with quarterbacks and running backs. Like and subscribe to this video right now where we're going to talk about wide receivers. So how about Jayvan Boggs? He is a UCF commit. Doing really well, and I think in terms of our database, which is, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, receivers with a 24/7 composite ranking who have stats on Max Prep. So quite a few, but not necessarily every single player in the entire country. But right now, leading our database in receiving yards. Jayvan Boggs, what did he do this past week? Looks like he kind of blew up here.
10 for 253 and 3 touchdowns, which is pretty crazy. Well over 500 yards in the season already. Playing at the solid competition. Venice is the 846th defense.
Yeah, they're a decent program down in Florida.
Yeah. And Boggs is more of like a not. I think he's like 5'8" or no, like 5'9", 5'10". Not super small, but on the smaller side. Probably projects to be more of a slot at the next level, but pretty bursty guy. I think he'd be pretty productive in college, especially going to a spot like UCF.
Yeah, if he sticks with UCF. Okay, David, we might have a little room for optimism. I believe Decorian Moore was on our list of trending down last week. He must have heard us because he went off against Waxahachie, previously mentioned Waxahachie. Give us an update, and are we a little bit more comfortable now?
Room for optimism for the wide receiver one in the class, yeah. 8 for 147 and 3 against Waxahachie. I don't know. He looks good. Just not really. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't too worried about last week.
I will say I was the one that threw that into the thing. I was never really that worried, but it was tough.
It's notable.
Fair enough.
Okay. Lodzier Brooks, he came on our list last week, and actually we all kind of admitted to maybe letting him fall through the cracks a little bit, had not even talked about him all summer. But showing up really well on the stat sheet this year, and then added to it 3 for 119, so about 40 yards per reception, and 2 scores against Washington Township, which was 625th ranked defense in the country. So not incredible, but not bad. And then Khalid Lockett, Texas commit, 7 for 98 and 2 scores versus Wiley. And just because it's high school Texas doesn't mean it's great. That was the 1,500th ranked defense in the country. Matt, we have a good stat line against a very legitimately good defense, ranked 13th in the country. What did Jalen Cooper do this week?
That's it doesn't really get much better than that. 8 for 123 against the 13th ranked defense. Jalen Cooper, I don't think you can say his name. A bit of a smaller wide receiver, but bursty, a good route runner. Someone that I think he's still being slept on a little bit in the rankings. I believe he's outside the top 20, right?
He's well outside. Well, On Three, who I think is usually ahead of the game, has him at 16. Everyone else has him at 60 or beyond.
Yeah. So still being slept on a bit. Good name to capitalize on early here.
Yeah, that's definitely a name I think to notice for sure, and based on all the things we're talking about here. And that 13th defense in the country, of course, is Westlake, absolute powerhouse in Texas, so no surprise there. Let's see. We've got Talon Taylor, 3, 114 and 3 with a 32-yard kick return and a 40-yard punt return, so kind of a do-it-all type guy. We love to see that here on the official. Oh, yeah, I missed a guy. David, talk to us about Demarion Fowlks. That's a big line.
He's committed to Pittsburgh. He had 10 receptions, 205 yards, and a touchdown against St. Joseph Preps, who have the 35th defense in the country. He's he's pretty well built, honestly. He looks pretty muscular, but he's 5'10", 175 or so. So most likely he's going to be a slot guy. Maybe he does play bigger than his size, so maybe he does get some work on the outside, but pretty dynamic player with the ball in his hands, not a completely pristine route runner, but he can separate for sure. So, and a little tidbit is his cousin is DeMarcus Beasley, U.S. soccer team player. So
yeah,
he's got some good genetics there as well.
And all of a sudden, Pittsburgh, dare I say, interesting, fun offense. I mean, who knows if the coaching staff will stay there or, if the scheme will stay the same, but they're fun right now. Eli Holstein is all of a sudden a fantasy superstar, old cement shoes Holstein, but, good for them, good for Pittsburgh. So all of a sudden, not a terrible landing spot, although we do know the landscape changes in college football quite a bit. And then I'm going to send it to Matt, I guess here. I don't know what to do with Michael Terry. I actually was going to bring him up on the show anyway, even if he wasn't on the list, but he is. What is he? And can we get excited about a particular position with him or wait and see? What are you feeling? I mean, he's putting some numbers up.
I've always said I think he's a better running back prospect than he is a wide receiver prospect. I think that's just how it is. Last week he had 245 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, the height thing is always going to bother people. He's 6'2.5",
6'3".
Yeah. He'll always be a long running back, but if he can do it, he can do it. And how many NFL Hall of Fame running backs are 6'2"? There are actually quite a few.
Yeah, I think 6'2" is, if you want to have an arbitrary cutoff, it's like 6'2", and 6'3" is too tall.
Yeah, he's a little bit over. But there are a few that were legitimately.
Eddie George. We can rest. Derrick Henry, Eddie George. There's guys. There's guys for sure. He's an old school type running back. I agree with you. I'd rather see him at running back. He's athletic. He's very high in our star index, if I remember correctly, right? So, interesting prospect. We still don't know even what he's really being recruited as. I don't think
all of this he could just end up being a linebacker too.
Yeah, I know. But he's putting in work on the ground over there. So Michael Terry III, athlete. We don't know receiver, running back, or like Matt said, linebacker, but 243 and 3. Just want to make sure we got that. I know you said it, but to repeat that, 243 and 3 on the ground last week. Commitments. We got Byron Lewis just committed to Florida State, I think yesterday. He's a 4-star running back prospect. And then Brendan Haygood committed to Boise. David, I think you said you kind of liked him. Although now, that running back room is just they are racking up running backs out there in Boise on the blue turf. And then we got some offers. David, Romero Ison going to Georgia. Is that the kiss of death for fantasy? It's nothing's happening in Georgia in the wide receiver room. Or the running back room this year, for that matter. Their offense stinks.
He's actually committed to USC right now, so there's no guarantee that he flips or anything, but I just thought it was notable that, getting an offer like this, somewhat, I would think it's performance-based as well. Obviously, he's having a good start to the season. He's a really speedy guy out of Baltimore, so maybe he's a stock-up guy. Got to watch his senior tape.
It's kind of crazy. There's got to be smoke there. If they're getting new offers, someone's talking to someone. So even though he's committed, something's going on. We got Quentin Gibson. He's that. Yeah. What did we say? The next. Remind me. The next play.
I said Tank Dell, but
That's Tank Dell. Quentin Gibson going to Arkansas State. We like that offense always. Almost always. That's a fun offense. Lazaro Rogers going to offer from Boise. So these aren't going to. I'm sorry. Quentin Gibson offer Arkansas State. Lazaro Rogers running back offer Boise State. Running back Joshua Perry offer UNC. Tight end Xavier Watson offer from USF. David, I will give you the floor if you want to mention one of these guys as a standout, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll just be brief. Lazaro Rogers, he's committed to Northern Illinois, which I actually hope that he just stays there. I actually like that spot for him. We already talked about how Boise State is pretty jam-packed at the moment, but I actually like him. He lists himself on Max Preps and Huddle at 215, and he really carries it well. The services have him at 190, so I don't really, based off his lifting numbers, I want to believe he's more than 200 because he's got some massive 550 deadlift, a 500 squat, 315 bench. He's really well built, has 1,200 meter in track. So he's got decent speed. I think I got him at 20.5 miles per hour, which is he gets up to max speed pretty well. Good runner though. I like him if he stays with UNI, but it's notable that anytime Boise offers a running back, I kind of perk up a bit
at this point.
And then Joshua Perry, getting a UNC offer is interesting. He's at Edgewater. It's the same school that CJ Baxter went to. He had minimal production going into this year. He's doing pretty well so far. Haven't watched the senior tape yet, but he's a guy that we have 21.7 miles per hour. So he's pretty good in the model. I think he's like 82nd percentile athlete, 3-sport background. So maybe a stack up guy, some guy, if you guys are interested, listeners, check out his senior tape. And then Xavier Watson, just kind of a sneaky, he's committed to UConn. They're kind of, I feel like UConn's kind of good getting kind of sleeper guys. He's actually a pretty athletic dude, but he could be a tweener type guy, but he's like 6'4", 210, real athletic, really good build. A guy that could probably add weight and just be athletic and be like 6'4", 240 with like after the catch ability. So South Florida offered him. So that could also be a stock up guy.
Yeah, I like these. And just, for context for our listeners, Lazaro Rogers' previous, list is Northern Illinois, USF with the recent offer, Boise with the recent offer. Other than that, like Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M. So, I think Boise represents quite an upgrade in offer for him. Joshua Perry, just the service academies currently listed. However, UNC represents a huge jump in offer. And then you've got Xavier Watson he's from like state of New York, which obviously is not a football hotbed, but we've seen some Northeast guys kind of pop because that doesn't get recruited very well. And sometimes these guys are just hiding down there. So USF making an offer to a guy in New York State, extra interesting. So just kind of some extra context behind those offers, why they represent a guy, really moving up, like David's saying, stock up for some of these guys. So whirlwind, but we got you a bunch of names. We got you a bunch of updates. Hopefully you enjoy what we're doing here on The Official. Like and subscribe. You know how we do it. This has been The Official.